SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Did you know Toyota of Brookhaven has sold more new vehicles the last 2 years than any other dealership in Southwest Mississippi? Come see why. Exit 40 Brookhaven or online at ToyotaBrookhaven.com. Great service, great savings. At Toyota of Brookhaven, we deliver.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive.
Good morning. Welcome to the start of a new week. Everything is going to be all right in the year of our Lord 20 and 25. Today is February 24th, nearing the end of the month of February. Thanks for joining us. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Kind of starting to get our sea legs a little bit, getting our pace going as we start officially week 2 of this radio program. Obviously been going for a long time, though, and we are glad to be with you. Alongside Lance Talbert, I'm Richard Cross. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Lance, you accomplish anything this weekend?
I'm all jacked up on Dayquil and Ricola, so I'm feeling good about myself.
Your voice a little bit.
Got a little frog in there, you know.
Yeah.
Caught a little of the coffeeness. Yeah, I'll be all right, though, so can't miss a show.
Ricola.
It's funny, you know, you see those commercials for like 2 months during the season. You're like, yeah, I beat it. I'm not going to get this stuff. And then it jumps on your back. Yeah, I was up here about 12 hours Saturday, and when I left, I felt terrible. I was like, oh, no. It got me. It jumped on me. But no, I'll be fine.
I feel like the world is a Petri dish right now.
Yeah.
You either have had it or you're going to get it. That's kind of like where we are in terms of the sickness cycle. You've had flu all over the place and sinus infections and upper respiratory infections and all of that stuff, and you've either already had it and you're thankful to have it in the rearview mirror or you're going to get it, and I'm sorry, but it's just how it goes. Now, if you're one of those unfortunate people that has had to deal with it twice or you felt like it was in the rearview mirror and you caught it again, my condolences. Yeah, that's no good. Hey, weather this morning, not nearly as cold across the state of Mississippi as it has been in recent weekday mornings. And I got good news for you. It's going to be pretty darn good this week across the entire state of Mississippi. We got sunshine on the way. As you start your day in coastal Mississippi, about 50 degrees outside. A little farther north in Hattiesburg, you got it at 47. A little bit of fog this morning. 30 in north central Mississippi. Go up to the northeast corner of the state in Corinth, Mississippi. 26 degrees on this Monday morning, but later in the week, Oxford will see mid-70s on Wednesday. Hattiesburg may hit 80 in the midweek. And how about this strange weather twist? On Wednesday, it will actually be cooler, Lance, in Gulfport than it will be in Corinth.
It's not supposed to happen that way.
And yet, here we are.
That'd be number 2 this year, probably.
Yeah. Lance and I had a disagreement. We don't disagree about a whole lot, but we had a disagreement. We were talking before the show began. He's like, in terms of birthdays, and remember, we're not doing the long list of birthdays anymore. We are trying to give you 2, 3, maybe 4 compelling birthdays that have got some stories to go with them. And Lance tells me, man, there's nothing good today. I said, what?
Yeah.
What list are you looking at? You're a music guy. Yeah. How about George Thorogood's birthday today?
See, they didn't have that one on there. I heard you playing it, so I get,
Ooh! George Thorogood. 75 years young. He's still bad to the bone. I just got to let that play for a second.
Love it.
On the day I was born, the nurses all gathered round, and they gazed in wide wonder. They found
75 for George Thorogood of George Thorogood and the Destroyers. Had a few hits out there. How about this guy? How about a guy who changed the world, born on this day in 1955? He died in 2011, born in 1955. Steve Jobs.
I had that one, yeah.
Co-founded Apple, played a key role in revolutionizing personal computing, mobile phones, digital animation. CEO of Apple, he oversaw the introduction of the iMac, iTunes, iPod, iPad, and the iPhone, which, by the way, is a pretty good catalog of accomplishments. He's a dropout, dropped out of Reed College, but he continued to take classes. He just didn't want to do it formally. One of the classes that he took, calligraphy. And that experience influenced Apple's design philosophy.
Really?
Simple, beautiful.
That's coming from an Apple user, too,
What, me?
Yeah. See, the Steve Jobs one was like, yeah, he's all right, I'm a Samsung guy, so.
Yeah, I understand.
No, I'm kidding. No, he's
I have a whole suite of them in front of me.
Amazing innovator.
1984, Apple introduced the Macintosh. They had the notable Super Bowl commercial. Ridley Scott directed the commercial. But did you know that Steve Jobs left Apple in 1985? He had a disagreement with the board, and he's like, I'm out. And he went and founded another company. It was called Next Computer. And he acquired Pixar Animation Studios. 1997, he was back at Apple because Apple bought Next, and he became the CEO. And that's when iMac, iPod, iPhone, iPad came along. Pretty serious health challenges, pancreatic cancer, died far too young. October 5th, 2011, at the age of 56. What a, like in terms of people that have changed the course of technological human history, what is he, top 3?
Has to be.
Top 5?
It wasn't Wozniak? Wasn't that his buddy?
Yeah, he and Steve Wozniak founded it together. Mm-hmm. Sure did. Sure did. Floyd Money Mayweather, born on this day in 1977, American former professional boxer, 49-0 in his career with 26 knockouts, known for technical skill, defensive prowess, strategic approach, often cited as one of the greatest boxers in the history of the sport, multiple titles in multiple weight classes, including late in his career high-profile matches that just absolutely rang the cash register at the pay-per-view box office, wins over Manny Pacquiao, Conor McGregor. And then finally, born on this day in 1874, Honus Wagner.
No, there you go.
The Flying Dutchman. Nicknamed that due to his superb speed and German heritage, 21 season in the big leagues, 1897 to 1917, almost exclusively for the Pittsburgh Pirates, 8 batting titles in his time in Pittsburgh. In 1936, the Baseball Hall of Fame inducted Wagner as one of its first 5 members. And you may know his name from this. He is the subject of the T206 Honus Wagner baseball card. Isn't that like, the T's for tobacco, right?
I think so, yeah.
That tobacco card, it's
the old ones.
Upright, skinny one. One of the rarest baseball cards in existence. Its production ran from 1909 to 1911, leaving only about 50 known copies in circulation. In 2021, 4 years ago, there was a T206 that sold for $6.6 million, making it the second most expensive sports card in history.
I didn't have one of those in my little sleeves of cards.
Do you think there's a kid out there, by the way, if you happen to be, 12 years old and bike riding age, you're going to be like, what are you talking about? But if you are, 40 plus, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. Is there a kid out there that took a Honus Wagner card and a clothespin and got that pop, 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 pop sound when riding his bike and hearing that baseball card pop in the spokes?
Y'all didn't have the flea market like we had here in Jackson. As a kid, we'd go down there and they'd have all the cases with all the cards.
Oh, yeah.
And I took a risk, I went out and I got every Tony Armas card you could possibly have, hoping Tony would, be a stud.
How'd that work out for you?
It didn't work out good on that one. I probably had 30 different Tony Armas cards. Don't think that ever turned into...
I remember being fired up about having a Ben McDonald rookie card.
Yeah.
At one point, I had the Shaq McDonald's version rookie card. I think that one got up to about $20 in value.
You can get the Angel Reese one to get a free Happy Meal, maybe.
Mike in Gulfport, the tobacco came in 10s, and there are less than 10 known at this point. Okay.
Yeah, that was back when they were rolling them on the bench over there. Coach, the umpire had 3 of them in.
No doubt. Who's the last one to do that? Jim Leland?
I don't know. I remember Bertman, though, as a college guy. He would be sitting over there back in the late 90s.
Oh, he would burn them in the dugout?
I mean, he was burning a pack a day,
Wow.
easy over there in the corner, burning them down.
Yeah. On this day, just 3 years ago, in some ways, hard to believe it's been 3 years. In other ways, you go, it's only been 3 years. Russian leader Vladimir Putin announced the start of a 3-day special military operation in Ukraine to demilitarize the country. Moments before Russia launched a full-scale pre-dawn and unprovoked invasion by land, air, and sea with bombings in several cities. There's a bit of a commemoration going on today. World leaders, and when I say world leaders, I mean Justin Trudeau. That's about it. Are there in Kyiv to mark this day, while negotiations are ongoing to end the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. We got news headlines coming up. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the
Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome to the show.
C-Spire text line open to you, 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395. Are you trusting C-Spire? Do you?
I do.
I know I do. I trust them for wireless, nationwide 5G. I travel a lot. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's a drag, but regardless, I know that I need to be able to connect when I'm gone, and I can do that with my phone from C-Spire. Never a question. Norman, Oklahoma this weekend, all good. All good with C-Spire. Of course, you need internet at your house, and C-Spire's got you covered there. Fiber to the home. It's a work thing. I have 2 gigabit fiber to the home lines coming into my house. One goes into the house and one comes into my office. And it's where we do this show every single morning. So, Mornings with Richard Cross, powered by C-Spire Fiber to the Home. And then you got the business IT services, and I don't use them because I'm not a business owner, but you know what? My wife is, and she does. Right there on, she relies on them every single day. And you can do that with your business as well. C-Spire is a Mississippi company. You can find them online at cspire.com. Check out their business team. Stop by a store. See one of their helpful associates. I did that just last week. Couldn't have been an easier process. cspire.com. C-Spire, customer inspired. Dan Bongino, the podcast guy. Oh, but he's so much more than a podcast guy. Now, there are certain people out there that'll tell you, well, Trump just hired another media guy, and he wasn't even a host on Fox and Friends. All this guy was a podcast host. Dan Bongino, a little bit more than a podcast host, has been named Deputy Director of the FBI. He's going to work alongside Kash Patel running the FBI. So what's Dan Bongino's background? Spent a couple of years as a New York City cop, then went to work for the Secret Service. He worked on 2 presidential Secret Service details And they are from the two parties, George W. Bush first and then Barack Obama. And yes, he does have a podcast, one of the best, most listened to podcasts in the world, according to Spotify. He has written books. He has tried unsuccessfully to be elected to Congress 3 times, I think. And now he is the number 2 man at the FBI. He has been an outspoken critic of the Secret Service, especially in the wake of the Pennsylvania assassination attempt of Donald Trump back in Butler this past July, I guess it was. And as a former Secret Service guy on a presidential detail, probably as qualified as anybody out there to discuss that topic. He talked about the failures at every turn. He has also been very, very critical of the FBI, particularly in its raid of Mar-a-Lago during the Biden presidency while Trump was there. Again, worked for Barack Obama and George W. Bush, and an interesting decision. What do you make of Bongino?
He's an interesting guy. I mean,
he is that.
You know, the history with the New York Police Department, then on 2 details of Secret Service, a successful podcaster, writer. You know, there's some that don't like him, some that love him, and it's an interesting pick though, because the dude kind of comes right at you. You know, he's real similar to Cash in that you seem to get a lot of the straightforward. You know, you don't get a lot of beating around the bushes.
That's right. One of the clips that you can watch if you want to, where you get a little bit of a peek into his personality, is where he and Geraldo are guests at the same time on Hannity. It's hard to watch, to be perfectly honest, because Geraldo never shuts up, never stops interrupting. But Bongino just goes after him. And then the money line in that is he tells Geraldo, you just want to watch the United States burn. Oh, Geraldo lost it at that point. Speaking of the FBI, new FBI Director Kash Patel has told senior officials that he plans to relocate up to 1,000 employees from Washington to field offices around the country and move an additional 500 to a large bureau facility in Huntsville, Alabama. If you remember, Kash Patel is the one that kind of controversially said, we're going to close down the Hoover building. The J. Edgar Hoover building in D.C. We're going to turn it into a museum, and we're going to get agents where they need to be, which is out in the field. Well, they're not locking the doors at Hoover. They are not making that a museum exhibit, but they are getting people out of the office in D.C. and into the neighborhoods and onto the streets and across the country. We can applaud that, right?
I'm applauding it, yeah. I mean, you're not going to catch a lot of folks.
You and I, Lance, both know people that work in FBI offices in Mississippi.
That's right.
And there is zero question they are understaffed and overworked.
Oh, yeah. But
those guys don't complain.
No, they don't. I was about to say,
show up to work every day.
They're not going to complain about it either.
And in fairness, let's just be real here. They don't really go to the office.
No, they get work done. Yeah, they're the guys that you don't know are FBI. Yeah, they're out solving stuff.
You're not worried, though, about a lack of productivity from them being remote workers. Kind of by definition, it's what they do. The plans were communicated Friday, the same day that Kash Patel was sworn in at the White House, and they keep up with what he talked about leading up to his appointment. How about this? The FBI said in a statement, Director Patel has made clear his promise to the American public that FBI agents will be in communities focused on combating violent crime. He has directed FBI leadership to implement a plan to put this promise into action. Well done, Kash Patel. An investigation is underway after a deputy in Hinds County was shot. Press release says the incident occurred yesterday evening at a home on Midway Road in Terry. 37-year-old Martin Shields Jr. responded to a domestic call for service at the home where he was shot by 42-year-old Eric Brown. Statement from the Hinds County Sheriff Tyree Jones, Martin Shields Jr. has been identified as the fallen HCSO deputy tragically lost in the line of duty this evening. He's been employed with the HCSO approximately 9 months. His law enforcement career extends beyond being employed with the Hinds County Sheriff's Office. Prayers for his family, friends, and the law enforcement community during this very difficult time.
Thoughts and prayers. I just, riding along with JPD folks, you get a different perspective of the danger that's in front of them every day. And I know Tyree Jones, the sheriff of Hinds County, he's been in several times, and you're talking about a tough dude, a guy that means business and does his job well. And this is just heartbreaking, a 9-month employee going to a home for domestic violence. And that was one of the questions I have on my last ride along. What is the most dangerous part of your job, guys? Like domestic violence, going to the home. You never know what you're going to get into.
You are walking into a situation that is potentially a powder keg every single time. Potentially.
Yeah, but protocol, learning a little bit how they react to those, respond to those, and how they position officers at those is just, they're very thoughtful in that regard. And to know that someone got shot in that way, it's disturbing because these guys know what they're getting into every time they go to those houses. And just a really heartbreaking moment there.
Germany's mainstream conservatives, led by Friedrich Merz, won Germany's national election, ensuring that Ukraine has an even stronger supporter in the European Union's largest country and creating hopes for renewal in an economic powerhouse that has been badly battered in recent years. If you are like me, you may not be. You may be far smarter than I am. You may have a far better grasp of what's going on globally. But if you are like me, and you hear about a foreign country's election, you have to stop and think and be reminded and read just a little bit to realize, okay, which party is which?
Yeah.
Which party in country X equates to Republicans? Which party in country X equates to Democrats? Is there an independent party of sorts? Sometimes a party called the Independent Party is actually a liberal party. Sometimes the Labor Party is conservative, or it just takes a second. So let's try and unpack that for you just for a second. Here's what I will tell you: the Left Party in Germany, and yes, the left is the left,
and it's pink. Yeah, that's how they have it labeled, right? Has
been in control for a while, and they got beat. Like hold on. Give me another. They got drunk.
Like the drum major, with the Jackson State.
Yeah.
Where they pound on those drums. That's how that pink party got busted up.
Yeah. Yeah. Only 8.8% of the vote.
Butt kicking.
There is an up-and-coming party, Alternative for Germany, or AFD, that is a far-right party that made major strides and actually finished in second place in this national election. But the winner, Merz, is, I don't even know what the name of the party is. Can't find it anywhere. But they won, and they're like middle-ish, left middle. Sports headlines are next.
Find out what's happening across your state. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
A little Huey this morning?
No, I was a little Robert Palmer. Anytime.
Wait. Okay. Well, yeah. I just did it for the first time. I'm assuming that's not as bad. Brian Haydad loves, to this very day, I'm bad sometimes at identifying singers of songs. Mm-hmm. And there is a Black Crowes song, I don't remember which one, that to me the intro sounded just like a Pat Green song, Wave on Wave. And I made that reference one day, and Haydad fell out of his chair. That was 6 years ago. And to this day, there are jokes about Pat Green that we had in the afternoon.
I love the Black Crowes.
I swear that sounded like Huey Lewis in the news.
It does, yeah. Robert Palmer's a genius, man. And I love Huey.
Okay, so that's not quite as out there thinking Huey Lewis in the news.
No, those are very similar, okay. Exactly. You got so much synth. But Huey Lewis, we did a little segment Saturday on, and I'm a big fan of Huey, man. Nobody's got a chin like that guy either, That thing looks like you couldn't knock him out with Mike Tyson's uppercut.
No glass jaw?
No glass jaw on that guy.
By the way, I said a second ago, some of you smarter than me. Philip, you fall into that category, although apparently it's what he has been doing. Talking about the political parties in Germany. AfD is only called far right by the socialists. The Christian Democrat Union, CDU, is the party that just won. And their Bavarian co-party, the CSU, the Christian Socialist Union, and this Friedrich Merz, a representative of those two combined, the CDU, the CSU. He got 28.6% of the vote in Germany. And Philip says, I'm a retired German professor and follow German media daily. Have many friends there and spend a lot of time there. I'm glad to contribute my 2 cents worth of analysis anytime. Okay.
Good stuff.
We appreciate that, Philip. Absolutely do.
The German country, I did a lot of being under the weather a little bit Sunday, watched a lot of movies. Watched a couple of old German spy movies, good stuff, some black and whites. Getting Germany back together was a big deal for Germany. It's a huge country, big population, smart people, work hard. But man, if you look at France compared to Germany, France's political parties are everywhere. Germany at least has, 5 mostly? And you still got to build a coalition because you're not going to get a majority. But, yeah, it's funny looking at when socialists all over the country, all over the world, start pointing fingers at the right. The left is pretty far left, but, it's they definitely like to, no matter where they are, to put the finger on the right, saying, oh, they're Nazis or they're fascists.
Yeah, and you know what's kind of fascinating about the way they handle their elections, and Philip probably could give us more insight on this. So it was the CDU-CSU with Merz at the head of it that won the election for president, and seats are allocated in their Bundestag based on percentage of votes. So the CDU and the CSU, with the president elected, gets 208 seats in the Bundestag. The AfD gets 152. And then you get into the SPD and the Greens and the Left Party, and those seats are allocated according to the way the votes came in, which is really, really fascinating. Europe stands unwaveringly by Ukraine's side. Friedrich Merz posted on X. Now more than ever, it holds true. We must put Ukraine in a position of strength. That was the first thing that he said after being elected. No, there were no Make Germany Great Again hats that were being worn by his supporters. I don't think. It is not a Germany first agenda for Friedrich Merz. Now, with that said, I think you have to operate a little bit differently in Europe than you do in the United States because you got neighbors. In North America, you've got Canada and Mexico. I get that. You're surrounded, though, and it's very much intertwined. Well,
with what's going on in Germany, you see, too, is if you swing too far left or too far right, the overreaction by the people always seems to come back the other way at some point. And I think you see that everywhere, especially in democratic countries that you have elections, not where somebody is, kind of figuring it out and appointing people through what you call elections. But, yeah, you got these. If you swing too far right, it's going to go back to the left. Even the same on the other side of that. You got to govern from the middle in most cases if possible. With certain things that allow you to, go left, go right. But, you can't, the people, they at some point getting tired of this stuff. And you see it in America this go around.
Sports news. We start with hoops.
Oh, not a good one.
Weekend for the Dogs and the Reps. Noon tip-off in Norman, Oklahoma. I got to call that game. Oklahoma, a winner, 93-87 over Mississippi State. In talking with Chris Jans on Friday night at Mississippi State's practice, I said, hey, what's your biggest concern with Oklahoma? He did not hesitate. He goes, they're desperate.
Yeah, you don't want to play
backed into a corner.
Exactly.
And if you were playing a desperate team that has not given up, because there's two different kinds of teams, right? There are teams where it's like people are like, they've actually still got a chance. Does the team believe they still got a chance? And if they do, and they play desperate like their season is hanging in the balance, you got to match that intensity. Mississippi State wasn't able to do that on Saturday. They led at halftime. They were outscored by 9 in the second half. And State's now 7-7 in SEC play. And it's crazy because for the previous week, Mississippi State had played its best basketball of the entire season outside maybe one game. Oklahoma was on a 5-game losing skid and had been blown out in 4 of the 5. And in the one they lost close, they had a 7-point lead with 22 seconds to go, and they lost. Teams couldn't have been going in more opposite directions, and yet it was Oklahoma that won. And, oh, by the way, you can catch the video online. Dude for Oklahoma diving for a loose ball, face planted, knocked a bunch of teeth out. We showed a replay of it. Lance, I'm serious. If you watch it, maybe I can even dig it up for you here in a second. I go, those are teeth they're picking up off the floor.
Yeah, I heard it. See, I was working that game on the radio side internally, and I had the game on watching it, and I knew you were doing it, but it's hard to listen to the because you're off about, it could be a minute and a half or two difference there. But, that was nasty, wasn't it? Goodness gracious, man.
Yeah, it was rough.
Everybody was like, what is that?
It's like, those are teeth.
That's not ice. Yeah.
And it was no better for Ole Miss in Nashville. Rebels fell behind early by 19 to Vanderbilt. So what do? Just shut it down and go to the house? Nope. Ole Miss came all the way back. Took the lead. Had, a 7-point lead in the game in the second half?
What a crazy game, too.
I was sitting in the airport in Oklahoma City waiting to get on a delayed flight, and I turned it on, and Ole Miss was ahead 64-62. I was like, sweet. Let's watch this. They didn't score for the next 6 minutes and got beat 77-72.
Hey, the crowd, though. Ole Miss brought the heat with the people. I want to give them credit for that because you could tell they outnumbered the Vandy crowd.
I had some buddies that were there and said, man, the number of Ole Miss fans kind of in that end zone behind the Rebels bench was awesome. A lot of Ole Miss folks in the Nashville area, easy time to get to the game. Malik Dia had 22 points. Sean Padula had 21. He turned it over 5 times, though, and that probably – now, Ole Miss probably doesn't climb back into the game without the play of Sean Padula, but they're not able to win the game because of some of those turnovers down the stretch. Ole Miss baseball, we'll stick with them just for a second. They swept Eastern Kentucky this weekend. Another good pitching performance by Hunter Elliott on Friday. Rebels got the bats out in Game 2 and won that one by a score of 9-4. And then yesterday, 9-3. So Ole Miss scored 8, 9, and 9 in the 3 games. They host Southern Miss tomorrow afternoon, 4 o'clock at Swayze in Oxford. Mississippi State got its second consecutive sweep to start the year. This time the opponent was Missouri State. And they played some close games. Honestly.
Missouri State's a good program, yeah.
Good program. Been a postseason program. And so Mississippi State, after dropping the game to Southern Miss last Tuesday night, come back home to get a sweep. 3-1 on Friday, 9-3 on Saturday, 6-4 yesterday. And so the Bulldogs are now 6-1 through 7 games.
And Pico looks good on Friday night too. I was curious how he would, if he's going to hold up. Little
Pico Khan has pitched really well,
man. Looks great too. I have to give him some credit because his freshman year was really nice, and then he had some injuries last year, but this year he looks like he's put on some weight, really hitting the zone, eating it up, man. He's impressive to watch.
Southern Miss dropped their first game of the season this weekend, but they won the series against Louisiana Tech. That is a good weekend series win. They're now 7-1 on the year. Won the first 2 games. Friday night 4-0, Saturday 8-4 in game 1 of a doubleheader, and then dropped the back end of the doubleheader Saturday evening. 5-2 was the final. Up next, Southern Miss on the road again in Oxford, taking on Ole Miss tomorrow afternoon, 4 o'clock. Looks like the weather's really going to cooperate for that.
Good.
By the way, Mississippi State on Tuesday hosting Troy. That's
another good program. Yes, sir.
That's a good. You better strap it on and be ready to play on Tuesday. So those are your sports headlines. We got more coming up with you. An update from the Mississippi Lottery. Rob Roberson is going to join us this morning as a guest on the program. We're going to talk primarily, well, let's just say education-related issues, school choice, and a whole lot more with him. That's coming up in the 7 o'clock hour. JT Mitchell in the 8 o'clock hour. We're back with you on MRC after this.
From the Venable.
From the White House to your hometown, this is where you find out what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
There you go. Time for an update from the Mississippi Lottery. Find them online at mslottery.com. That's mslottery.com. We bring you the update each and every morning. You got it in your email?
I do. Do you need it?
Yeah, I'm going to find it. Sorry. Different inbox. Start us off.
It happens, doesn't it? Lotto America, no jackpot winner yet. The estimated jackpot for tonight, Monday, February the 24th, and I'm glad that's on there because I had no idea it was the 24th. Yeah, $24.89 million.
All right.
Estimated cash on that, $11.38 million.
That's real money.
That is money right there. Money.
Real money.
Numbers from the Saturday drawing, 3, 24, 26, 34, 35. Starball, a 6 all-star bonus multiplier of dose.
Powerball, no jackpot winner in Saturday night's drawing. The estimated jackpot for tonight, Monday, February 24th, $230 million. The estimated cash value of that, $105,200,000. I did the quick math on it last night. Not scientific. You probably should check with your own financial advisor, but roughly $64,200,000 in your pocket. I also did some compound interest math on that. Yeah, you want the quick math? Just because
yeah.
Here you go. All right, so you walk away with $64.2 million. We're just going to assume that you're going to do some charitable things, like make a tithe or a charitable 10% donation right off the top. You're going to distribute a little family money. You're going to have a little play money, and you're going to invest $45 million, Lance, into some nice array of stocks and bonds and mutual funds. You're going to pay yourself a $50,000 monthly salary for the next 30 years. $50,000 a month. Now, yeah, there's other money over there if you ever need it along the way, but you ought to be able to get by on that. At an estimated, very conservative interest rate of 8%. You know how much you're going to have in 30 years in that account if you don't touch it? If all you do is pay yourself $50,000 a year? You know how much?
What you got?
$384 million.
Yeah. A miracle of compound interest, huh?
And that's a conservative 8%. Who knows? Maybe you buy all Bitcoin at $95,000 and it goes to $250,000 and then you got real money.
I love it. It always gets me a little bit when they always say, the Treasury, people are fleeing to the Treasury for safety. You do know we owe like $30 trillion something dollars, right?
Mm-hmm. Mega Millions, no jackpot winner. Estimated jackpot for Tuesday, $181 million. $82.7 million is the cash value. Friday night's numbers, 113, 28, 37, 46. The Mega Ball was 10. The multiplier was 2.
Well, the Mississippi Match 5, no jackpot yet. $180,000 is where we're at tonight for the jackpot drawing. Numbers from the Sunday night drawing, 5, 16, 18, 19, and 28. Cash $3, $500 midday, 862. Evening, 886. Cash for $5,000 midday drawing, 6505. Evening numbers, 2862. Fireball of 8 and a cash pop of 13 in the midday with a fireball of 7 and a cash pop of 8 in the evening.
Very good. Lottery claims office last week paid out $3.2 million. Retailers paid out another $4.5 million in winnings. We told you last week about the Pink Panther Diamond Tripler bonus promotion. Say that 3 times.
You nailed
5
it,
times
though.
Fast. We had winners in the Pink Panther Diamond Tripler bonus promotion. $15,000 to a person in Tupelo, $10,000 to a person in New Albany, $5,000 to a person in Jackson. Gave away some $100 gift cards as well. Winners will be notified by certified mail, but the excitement doesn't stop. Every entry is automatically placed into the second chance promotional drawing where $100,000 is up for grabs at the end of the game. 7 more bonus promotion drawings. The next one coming up on March 6th. Got some unclaimed tickets. Check your pockets. Check the lint collector in your dryer. Check the the visor in your vehicle to see if you stuck your lottery tickets there. Powerball ticket worth $100,000 purchased from Warrior Express in Pontotoc expires on March 13th. Lotto America ticket, $20,000 purchased in Columbia. March 17th, expiration date. Mega Millions ticket worth $30,000 from Circle K in Jackson expires on March 19th as well. Don't want to miss out on those prizes if you were the winner. Let's give you a few more winners. Jackson man won $5,000 on a Cash 4 ticket from Kroger in Jackson. Cash Pop winner won $2,500 on a ticket from Clark Oil in Waynesboro. Let's see here.
There's some big ones down there, especially at the very bottom.
There was a $20 Colossal Cash scratch-off winner. Myrtle Man won $1,000. And a $20 Jackson winner, scratch-off. I guess that's Andrew Jackson.
Yeah, those president tickets are something, man. They've been around for a while, too.
A Warner Robins, Georgia man making his way through the greater Jackson area, bought a ticket at Stop and Shop, won $1 million.
Nice ride home, huh?
Yeah. Make sure you pay those state taxes in Mississippi, friend. Thanks for passing through. That's your Mississippi Lottery update brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery. Find them online at mslottery.com. Should you believe what the media tells you about the markets? Well, it depends on which day you read a story. Because on Saturday, or maybe even Sunday, you get a story about big losses, and then this morning, futures looking pretty good. We'll take a look at that when we come back. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. More after the news.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Good morning. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Hope your day is off to a great start. You need a little pick-me-up? Walk outside your front door, walk outside your back door, look to the east, and see those pink and purple and orange hues in the sky. If you don't look at that and have it bring a smile to your face, better check your pulse. Good morning. Glad to be with you. Alongside Lance Talbert, I'm Richard Cross. We welcome you to the program. We welcome your messages on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Give your business the edge with gigabit fiber internet from C Spire Business. You can find them online at cspire.com/business. C Spire, customer inspired. This hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today, 601-206-7966, or go to MWGEmployerServices.com. Lance, you sent me a story yesterday. Mm-hmm. It was from the website CryptoPolitics.
Yeah, wasn't that a good
interesting website, by the way.
You like that one? Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of financial news there with a focus on the crypto markets. Story that they published on Saturday. The U.S. stock market collapsed on Friday, posting its worst single-day loss since December of 2024. Now, in terms of historical perspective, that's not exactly a big window.
Yeah.
So, had its worst day in 2.5 months. Okay. As traders dumped risk assets on fears of a weakening economy and stubborn inflation, as new economic data showed shaky consumer confidence, declining home sales, and slowing business activity, all while the White House ramped up its tariff war. I think that probably is the key line there. The uncertainty that exists with Donald Trump in the White House and the tariffs that he either has posed or has threatened to impose. They point out that the market closed on Friday down. The Dow Jones Industrial average 748 points, or 1.7%. By the way, the market's still at a historic high, 43,400 and change. You remember when the market was at 20,000?
Oh,
people were like, this is crazy.
Oh, I remember when there was a guy that was proposing that it was going to 30,000 20 years ago, and people were like, you never heard from that guy again.
Well, you're a moron.
Yeah, well, who is this dude? No.
S&P 500 lost 1.7%, finishing above 6,000. NASDAQ dropped 2.2%, finishing at 19,500. So those were the concerns when the market closed on Friday. And then you fast forward to Monday morning, and you get this from the Wall Street Journal. Ah, jeez.
Yeah.
Well, I'm opening on a different Wall Street Journal account than normally, and it's trying to make me verify something or other. All right, here it is. U.S. stocks are on course to recover some ground after taking a beating late last week. Futures tied to the S&P 500, the Dow Industrials, and the tech-heavy NASDAQ 100 all rose early on Monday. The S&P 500 had its worst session of the year on Friday. Again, we're about 60 days into the new year. Economic data, sell-off in healthcare stocks. In recent trading, U.S. Treasury prices fell. The euro strengthened slightly. Asian stocks mostly declined. And Bitcoin held around 95,000. Now, you got some earnings calls coming up later this week, including from NVIDIA and the Federal Reserve, their inflation gauge. That'll be updated on Friday this week as well.
Hey, do you think maybe that the market's rebounding because Kanye's coming out with his new YZY potential,
that's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's why.
Everybody's been waiting for that coin.
But you want to talk about one of the great scams that exist? It's the launch of these. Some people call them crypto coins.
Mm-hmm. But the .com bubble bust in '99.
Yeah. And the thing is, most of them come online, they go way up because a bunch of people buy them, and then they crash.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, you remember the old multi-level marketing schemes? They're still out there. I mean, multi-level marketing was always a fancy word for pyramid scheme. But if you talk to somebody that was in a multi-level marketing program, oh, this is not a pyramid scheme. Really? Let's draw it out. What's the shape? You got somebody at the point who's making money because the people below him or her are not really selling a product. They're just signing up more people, and it's a trickle up, not a trickle down. So, this is like modern-day multi-level marketing or pyramid schemes, and Yeezy going to be the latest to cash in.
Yeah, pump and dump.
Pump and dump. So, no, I don't think that is the reason that...
Force,
yeah.
The great insight in some of those articles is obviously, we've seen most of the dips have been bought pretty hard over the last few years. So,
I mean, so there you go. Mm-hmm. I mean, you nailed it, Lance. And go figure, a guy that spent a decade and a half in finance has seen this a time or two. It's pretty simple, actually. Markets dislike, in the short term, uncertainty. And when there is significant uncertainty, markets go down. And you know what happens when markets go down? People with lots of money start buying a lot. And you know what happens then? Markets go back up.
That's right.
And it's why investing should be a long-term game. Game's probably not the right word. It should be a long-term strategy, not a short-term strategy. There are day traders that are successful, that ride the ups and downs, and they buy and they sell, and they buy and they sell, and they buy and they sell. More times than not, though, day traders go bust. Sometimes they make money. Sometimes they make a lot of money in the short term.
Buddy, let me tell you, it's tough to trade when you're up against the big boys. Their technology's just so good, and trying to execute at the same time that they are, it's just very hard. But if you can do it and you know what you're up against, that's really the trick is time. So how quickly can you execute?
I played a little bit of a game. So I have a very, very small amount of money in a Robinhood account. And I've kind of played around with Bitcoin. And I'm not saying that it's a good strategy. Certainly not suggesting that you employ this, but it's such a small amount of money, it's fun to just kind of play with a little bit. So when there's a dip in Bitcoin, I buy a little bit, and then when it goes to a certain number, I sell it. Because the volatility of Bitcoin has shown you that it's going to go up and it's going to go down, and it's going to go up and it's going to go down. And so, like right now, Bitcoin's at about 95,000. And no, I don't buy a single Bitcoin. That's the cool thing about Robinhood. You can buy, very, very small percentages. You just put in, say you want to buy $100 of something, and you buy $100 worth, and it does the calculation for you. And you pay like a really small transaction fee. And so let's just say you buy it at 95,000, and then you set a sell order at 110,000. So it bounces up to 110, and as soon as it gets there, you sell it. Now, that is not a good long-term investing strategy. This is just like a play-with-it thing. And so you get a little bit of a return, and then you just wait until it goes down again. And then when it gets down to a certain level, you go, okay, I'm going to take that money that made a little bit, and I'm going to rebuy at 95,000 all over again. And I'm going to wait for it to go up. Maybe this time you wait for it to go up to 120,000. Again, not a great strategy, but fun to kind of play around with. Are you cringing at that?
No,
idea?
Not at all. I love every aspect of the investing and gambling market. You got to have an idea of what you're wanting to accomplish. The advice I give is go into anything knowing what you want on the backside. Always have a discipline and a strategy. Yeah. And if that's your strategy, stick to
Lance, is when I was buying Bitcoin, in like a $50 or $100 increment when it was at 36,000. Mm-hmm. I wish I'd just kind of held on to that and not sold it.
Yeah, that's the game, isn't it?
Not going, oh, man, I bought into this at $36,000 for $100, and now it's at $27,000. I got to sell this because I'm an idiot. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, you got to ride it out a little longer than that.
There's always a great story, Larry the Loser. If anybody doesn't know that story, go out and read it in the investing world. Larry the Loser. It's a good one.
Yeah. Ceasefire text line, 601-879-4395. Daniel in Boonville says, I lost about $12,000 several years ago day trading, and I kid you not, a guy I worked with at the time was as serious as a heart attack, and he told me, seems like you need to buy when it's low and sell when it's high. To say the least, that was the last thing I needed to hear after losing $12,000. Long-term patient strategy. You want to be the tortoise, not the hare in the market.
From the Venable Glass Traffic Center, I'm Patty Steele. Venable Glass in Richland and Brandon. Locally owned and operated with free mobile service for you in the Tri-County area. Traffic still moving smoothly. We are all clear with no accidents, no major congestion. Trust Southeastern Services with your heavy haul transportation needs. Their operators are experienced with driving both the fleet and operating the equipment they haul. True Southeastern Services. Call them today, 601-292-9932 for Southeastern Services.
The best made-to-order lunch in Northeast Jackson is at 4th and Gold Sports Cafe. The wings, the chicken tenders and bites, fried or grilled, and the best specialty pizzas in the metro. Call 769-208-8283. That's 769-208-8283. 769-208-8283.
Need heavy haul transportation you can trust? At Southeastern Services, we move the big stuff with care and precision. From oversized loads to machinery, we handle it all. Southeastern Services, your trusted partner on the road. Give us a call, 601-292-9932.
At the Citizens Bank, we believe in the power of community. For over 115 years, we've been providing excellent products and services to our customers. But our commitment to this community goes beyond banking. From supporting local schools and charities to event sponsorship, we've always been invested in making this region a better place. So whether you're looking for a new checking account or a loan, come to the Citizens Bank. We're more than just a bank. We're your neighbors. The Citizens Bank, in your corner since 1908. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
For the trees and shrubs running your yard instead of you, let the tree professionals at Baroni's Tree Pros take out your problem limb by limb. Baroni's Tree Pros is your complete tree, shrub, and stump removal service. No job is too big for the tree professionals at Baroni's Tree Pros. And with our superior cleanup, you can't go wrong. Baroni's Tree Pros, 601-345-8090. 601-345-8090. That's 601-345-8090. Or online at baronistreepros.com. That's baronistreepros.com.
At Key Constructors, our mission is to build a legacy that will stand the test of time through hard work, dedication, and pursuing excellence. Key Constructors is a heavy civil construction company, a leader in the bridge construction world. Our goal is to provide a positive work environment for you to grow personally and in your career. We are proud of who we are and what we do, making it happen one bridge at a time. Come join our team of Black Label Bridge Builders. Check out Key Constructors on Facebook and other social media platforms and keyconstructors.com.
For generations, St. Dominic's has cared for our community with compassion and faith. Today, we're proud to be St. Dominic Health, now fully integrated as part of the Franciscan Missionaries of Our Lady Health System. Together, we're companions on a journey. For us, this transformation is more than a symbol. It's our commitment to continuing our healing ministry.
This is Brian Haydad with Sports Talk Mississippi, the Magnolia State's #1 sports show. Get the show wherever you get your podcast.
Good morning, everybody. Time to wake up.
Time to shine! Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
You've got it locked into Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi. Hope your Monday is off to a good start. Just getting out the door on the way to drop kids off at school this morning or head to work yourself. We wish you a wonderful Monday rolling into this new week. Alongside Lance Talbert, I'm Richard Cross. Rob Roberson is going to join us in our next segment. We will talk with him about all things education. Rob is District 43 representative. That's Oktibbeha and Winston counties. He is chair of the House Education Committee. And there's a lot going on there in terms of bills. I was going through last night the list of bills related to education that Rob in particular has been involved in. You've got a handful of bills that have, I think I counted just the ones that Rob is either involved with as a primary author or as a co-author on. You got 33 different education-related bills that are that. Well, they're not all education. Those are just bills that he's involved with. But a lot of those, as chair of the Education Committee, are education-related bills. Some of them have died in committee, as is going to be the case for every legislator with if you got a bunch of bills that are out there. Some of them have been referred to the Senate side. Some of them have gone to the floor. And they kind of span the gamut in terms of education-related issues, from school choice to vouchers, difference in public schools and private schools. Yesterday, we posted the lineup for the show, and there was a person who saw that Rob Roberson was coming on, and he asked, he said, "Hey, can I send you some questions for the representative?" And I said, "Well, I'll certainly take a look at them." I did not expect like 8 tweets or posts to follow from Jonathan. And there's a lot there. And it was obviously something that he was very interested in. There was one particular issue, though, that struck me as interesting. We've heard a lot about the Mississippi Miracle, right, Lance? I mean, the governor has touted that. The New York Times has written about it, and it's been the escalation of reading proficiency in elementary school children in the state of Mississippi. And it really is incredible to see the results from that initiative, from that focus over recent years, to see the rising scores for young Mississippians in terms of reading. But what I say his name was Jason, is that right? Jonathan. Jonathan pointed out, and I thought this was pretty fascinating, and it's something I want to ask Representative Roberson about when we talk a little bit in just a few minutes, is you don't necessarily see those enhanced reading scores for elementary school students, at least so far, translating to the middle school / junior high level. And that particular program, and we'll get into some of the details of what is in the program, what is in the curriculum that has caused the jump in reading scores. But Jonathan asked the question, should we be looking at implementing something similar at the middle school or junior high level? That was part one of the question. And part two of the question was, if this has worked so well in terms of emphasis on improved reading scores, should we be copying this program in other subjects as well? Should we be taking a similar approach as a state, through the State Department of Education, in terms of curriculum and requirements and all those things? Should we be doing that in math? Should we be doing that in science and social studies and all of those other things? Obviously, I mean, if you want to go back to the 3 R's in education, reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Oh, yeah. Got to have those under your belt.
You got to start there, but is there an opportunity to have the writing and arithmetic come in with improvements in the same way that we've seen it with reading?
I will go out on a limb here and say the earlier you can get to doing these things, from me asking and talking to people in the education field, Grant Callen is a great resource. The earlier you can get into these schools and teach the skill sets that you really want, the better. I mean, it's a no-brainer, you know? I mean, if you want people to learn how to weld, if you can start teaching them at 12, 13, 14 rather than 16, 17, and 18, you know, the reality is that those folks are starting to see something earlier in their life. There's hope. There's a way out, maybe. There's a good job in front of them. Same with reading, writing, and arithmetic. The quicker you can master those subjects early in the educational process, the much easier it's going to be for you to get a great education.
And I mean, that's proven out in basically every skill in life, right? Everything. I mean, you use welding as an example. I always wanted to try skiing, snow skiing, growing up, and I just didn't. You know, whether it was sports being in the way in the spring, or you know, that was not the family vacation that my family went on. I was 38 years old the first time I skied. My kids have all been skiing multiple times. They're 14, 12, and 7. Guess what? They are already either as good or better skiers than I am. They start at a young age. They pick it up faster. You know, same thing for exercise, for sports, whatever sport you're talking about. The kid that starts playing basketball or baseball at 5, 6, 7 years old and continues to play it, generally speaking, is going to be more advanced and better suited to play that sport when they are 13, 16, 20, you know, whatever it is. If you don't pick up a baseball glove or a baseball bat until you're 14 years old, you're going to be behind. Now, one thing that I would ask, and I will ask when we visit in just a few minutes with Rob Roberson, have we seen enough time go by to adequately say that junior high reading levels are not where they need to be, or is the compounding effect, does it need a little more time? Right, has the focus on reading at the elementary school level over the last handful of years had its chance to trickle up to 7th and 8th grade? Or does a little more time go along where you have created the foundation with younger children that over time we're going to see scores go up just because that foundation was built with younger kids? I don't know if we're deep enough in. I guess that's the only thing that I would really look at and say, okay, are we deep enough? Have we allowed enough time to have this work? I think it's a reasonable question. Are we doing a better job educating at the elementary level than we are at the middle school and the high school level in Mississippi? I think that's also a reasonable question to ask.
So important, too. It's like growing something. You got to plant those seeds in the right depth and give them the right light and the right water and the right conditions. And you do that long enough and you take good care of stuff, it seems to kind of work out in your favor. I think kids and education are the same way. The earlier you get and you have the right mindset and the right ingredients and the right conditions, the sky is the limit for what you can teach and what they can accomplish.
Bubba in Starkville, very passionate about the school choice issue. We've gotten a lot of messages from him over the last few weeks and last few months. He says, once again, our supermajority can't pass even public-to-public school choice. The majority of the state voted for Trump, who strongly supports school choice. Houston, we have a problem. That's from Bubba in Starkville.
Yeah, and Houston, McDavid, that we're not talking to you.
That's right.
We're on air, buddy. It's going
no problems this morning. Don't want to say that out loud.
Yeah.
Another message, I'm in education, and numbers cannot be trusted at all. At all seems like a little bit of a strong word. But here's one thing that I would say about the numbers. Did we trust the numbers when Mississippi was 50th in education, basically every educational category? Did we agree with the numbers then? Or like our kids are not reading, they're not performing in school at the level they should be performing. And if we trusted the numbers when we thought Mississippi was dead last, are we not supposed to trust the numbers when we see improvements? When we see an incline? Something to think about. Going to take a quick time out. Rob Roberson will join us next. House of Representatives, District 43 and chair of the Education Committee. Your message is coming in on the C Spire text line at 601-879-4395. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Start your day right.
Good morning, America. How are you?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Welcome again to MRC Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. Glad to be with you and glad to welcome our first guest of the new week. Rob Roberson joins us. He represents District 43. That's Oktibbeha and Winston counties, and he is chair of the Education Committee in the Mississippi House of Representatives. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Great to be here, Richard.
Good to be with you as well. We're going to dive in, if we can, and talk about a topic that elicits passion and a lot of response from Mississippians on both sides when we talk about education. And there's so many different directions, Rob, that this conversation can go. I'd like to start, if we could, with something we were talking about before the break, the reading success that we've seen that's been referred to as the Mississippi Miracle at the elementary level. What in your mind has led to the improvement and these stories to be told about Mississippi as a success in terms of improving in reading education at the elementary school level?
I think the fourth grade reading gate, I think our previous governor was pushing that very hard. Kerry Wright was pushing it pretty hard. If you'll remember at the time, the world would end if we do that reading gate, and there was a lot of complaining and absolutely coming unglued about whether or not that was going to work or not. And I'll put credit where credit is due. Carrie Wright, who I didn't always agree with on things, she was right, and this is something that has benefited us. Now, the real heroes in all of this, and I really want to make certain that I say this, is the teachers out there that bought in, and when they bought in, they did what needed to be done and made certain that we had the potential to get where we are today. Now, we're nowhere near where I want us to be.
Sure.
But I love the fact that we're being talked about, and we've moved in such a large step in the right direction. And you're going to hear the gnashing of teeth and things like that when we talk about other things. But what I've noticed in Mississippi is we have two groups of people, and they're both good people on both sides. However, they cannot for the life of them agree on what direction we need to go in education. And by golly, they're going to let you know about it.
Yeah. Certainly it is an area where people are incredibly vocal. In terms of the reading advancement, does it feel like we are making progress in terms of educating and instilling a love of reading and understanding, or are we simply teaching in a way that is designed to improve test scores? Is that a fair question?
I think that's a fair question. I mean, both. I think that every teacher, every school district, every child, every time you implement something, you're probably going to have both of those being the goal of the school system. The school system's going to want the testing up, and the teacher is going to want that teacher to do that student to do well. The parents want that student to do well. But I think you're going to have both. Both of those answers are somewhat correct, and I'd like to lean into the fact that I do believe that it is because of some of the policies that we're making and the great teachers that we have that are pushing the positive side of this. But I'm not foolish. I don't think that everything is is rosy. I think that everything is better, and I want us to continue to be better.
So there was a listener that saw that you were coming on yesterday, and sent me a message on Twitter. And I think you got tagged in it. There was kind of an avalanche of messages that came in. But one of the points that he raised I thought was an interesting one. We are seeing improvement in elementary test scores, but not necessarily seeing improvement in junior high test scores. Something that I asked and wanted to get your thought on is it simply a matter of time before we see junior high test scores improving on the reading side of things as well that are commensurate with what we're seeing at the elementary level? Or is there something that's being lost between 5th grade and 7th grade?
I would argue with that assertion, first of all. We've got a really good the testing that was done last year showed that the 8th graders are retaining more than they had been retaining in the past. So I would suggest that is a earmark of the direction we're going to go in and the direction that we're going to continue to see. Now, I do believe, and I don't want to discount this, I do believe after COVID, a lot of your other states probably had a bit of a meltdown in their system, and we didn't have quite the meltdown in their school system as they did.
And part of that was because we went back to school faster than a whole lot of places, right?
Correct. And you can thank our governor for that. You can thank our leaders in Mississippi for getting our kids back to school. I think the worst possible thing that we did to our kids is put them in a house and leave them there for an entire year, or in some cases even longer than that.
Yeah.
And we wonder what's wrong with our children now. So I think that we did the best we could in the circumstances we had. However, getting those kids back to school has put us in a lot better position nationwide than I would have necessarily expected at the time. But I'm very excited about the direction we're going in. I do believe that getting some coaches into the grade levels above 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade will be a benefit to us in the future, and whether that be math or reading or whatever. And if we focus on our core things, I think that we're going to be able to see and keep a lot of the advancing that we're doing. But here's the other side of the coin. If you don't have a kid by 8th or 9th grade in a pretty good position, by the time they get to the 10th grade, they're giving up because they don't see school as being very beneficial to their future. And we've got to put CTE programs in place. We've got to put some things in place that can get the imagination going for these kids to let them know that, hey, I've got something to grab a hold of here whenever I leave high school, even if it's not that I'm going to go to college. So, and I think Donnie Bell, our chairman of our CTE programs and things like that, he's doing a good job of pushing me in that direction as well.
You mentioned math and other subjects as well. We've seen the success with, you referred to it as Reading Gate, I think, a second ago, or the GATE process that's in place. Is that a model that is replicable with other subjects? Can we see the same level of improvement with math, and how quickly do we get that in place if it is something that can be replicated?
I do think it's something that can be replicated. We did just hire a new superintendent of education.
Right.
He's asked to get his feet a little set so that he can figure out some things that he wants to push. CTE is a major part of his puzzle piece. Math and reading are also part of his what he wants to see moving forward. The push in different directions in terms of what we're doing, I want us all to be on the same page. I work very well with Senator Barr. I think he does a great job on that side. We have some differing opinions at times, but that's to be expected, which I'm sure there's a lot of your listeners out there that probably disagree with me about certain things as well, which is fine. But we're going to continue talking about creative and different things the entire time I'm the chairman of education. Not because I'm trying to just bring up negative things, but I think that you end up with better bills whenever you have you're cultivating a spirit of a conversation that needs to be had.
I know we kind of addressed this a second ago, but the C Spire text line is just lighting up with people who are saying teachers are teaching how to take tests as opposed to teaching to read. And I know you said that you think there's both in there. Why is that? If it's not reality in your mind, why is that the perception?
I think the perception, a lot of people are not thinking that they're getting the bang for their buck from their school systems. Some of that comes down to the fact that you've got some really school systems that are doing well. You've got some school systems that are doing quite terrible. And when you have a lack of leadership in your school district, you're going to end up with some problems like this. Now, here's the dirty little secret. The good school districts that are out there, whenever I bring up consolidation and bringing in some of the school districts that need help, generally speaking, even the people that are texting you or putting any of this information online that says that they think they're teaching the test, they don't want their good school district to be consolidated with a bad school district. And if they want things fixed, they're gonna have to stop thinking in terms of what's best for my school. We're going to have to start thinking what's best for the state of Mississippi as a whole, and how do we make the best school districts we can statewide. And that's not the way we generally think. And the complaining that you generally get are complaining about somebody else's school district. They don't really think it's their school district. Same reason people say my lawyer is a good lawyer or my politician is a good politician. And when we start talking about doing anything else, oh, well, don't attack my backyard. And that's kind of the hypocrisy of what we end up dealing with in education. And when we do get positive things inside education, we need to be proud of them. That doesn't mean we need to be sitting on our laurels and pretending that we can't do better. It just means that let's accept the positive and try to fix what we need to fix as we're moving forward.
Let's take a quick time out. We've got more coming up with Rob Roberson. He mentioned consolidation. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about school choice as well right after this on Mornings with Richard Cross.
From the Venable Glass Traffic Center, I'm Patty Steele. Venable Glass in Richland and Brandon, locally owned and operated with free mobile service for you in the Tri-County area. Traffic still moving smoothly. We are all clear with no accidents, no major congestion. Trust Southeastern Services with your heavy haul transportation needs. Their operators are experienced with driving both the fleet and operating the equipment they haul. True Southeastern Services. Call them today, 601-292-9932 for Southeastern Services.
Poly-Up of Mississippi, a division of Ewing and Ray, is in the business of helping customers lift settling driveways, sidewalks, curbs, and pool decks. We are here to help you remedy your drainage problems and trip hazards. Our Poly-Up process at Poly-Up of Mississippi will lift your concrete sidewalks or driveways to safe conditions for typically half the price of replacement with little to no loss of use. Contact us today by visiting polyupofms.com. That's polyupofms.com, or by giving us a call. Poly-Up of Mississippi, we lift concrete with foam.
Hello, I'm Gary Jolly from the Tractor Store. LS Tractor understands your passion for the land, and just like you, LS Tractor is committed to excellence and superior products. LS Tractor comes with a long list of standard features that are unmatched by other brands and backed with the LS commitment to provide exceptional customer service and satisfaction. You get a lot more for your money with the LS Tractor. Come to the Tractor Store in Richland to experience the LS difference. The Tractor Store in Richland.
Hey Mississippi, Taylor with the Skills Foundation here. I've traveled all over the state meeting high school seniors eager to start their careers, and I'm pleased to tell them that Mississippi is on a roll. Our state is attracting investments like never before in industries like manufacturing, construction, energy, and IT. Right now, there's serious demand for skilled workers, meaning companies are offering higher wages than ever. And that's why we created Skills That Pay. It's all about getting more Mississippians into great careers, jobs with excellent pay and long-term benefits. And here's the best part. We're also giving out signing bonuses to help cover the cost of training essentials. With the right training, you can get Skills That Pay and start out making over $50,000 a year. Many programs can be completed in less than a year. That means that students can make money faster and avoid debt. Get Skills That Pay and take your next step towards a great career. Visit skillsthatpay.ms to learn more. Paid for by the Skills Foundation of Mississippi.
If you're feeling anxious about your investments with all the economic volatility and chaos in Washington, tune in to SuperTalk Jackson on Wednesdays from 9 to 10 a.m. and Sundays from 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. for Element Wealth Radio with Jeremy Nelson. Learn more at myelementwealth.com.
Hey, this is Bob, and if you're like me, you like dealing with local people. Majestic Metals was founded in Mississippi in 1954 and are headquartered right in Gluckstadt. For complete metal building systems and steel roofing and siding, call the hometown folks. Majestic Metals, 800-647-8540 or online at majesticmetalsinc.com.
This is professional ball player and former Mississippi State Bulldog, Jake Mangum. To be a strong team, every player has to be dedicated. Farm Bureau is exactly that. Their dedication to providing me with excellent customer service and competitive rates is outstanding. If you aren't already on the team, it's time to join Farm Bureau. Visit favrates.com for great rates on home and auto insurance, or find a local agent at msfbins.com. Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team.
Mississippi sports fans are passionate, and they're betting. But Mississippi has one of the largest illegal sports betting markets in the entire country. That means we're missing out on millions of dollars in tax revenue. Think about what that could do for our crumbling roads and bridges. Many states are already reaping the benefits of mobile sports betting. Call your state senator today and tell them it's time to keep our money in Mississippi and invest in our future. That's the smart bet. Paid for by the Sports Betting Alliance.
Tune in to Good Things with me, Rebecca Turner. It's Mississippi's Radio Happy Hour, weekdays from 2 to 3 p.m. right here on SuperTalk Jackson 97.3.
Good morning. Good morning to you there.
Okay, up and at 'em. Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Down to me, the change has come. She's under my thumb. Yeah.
Back with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi. Thanks for being with us to start off your week, whether you are on the way to get kids to school or headed to the office yourself. Thanks for joining us, and we wish you a wonderful Monday. Rob Roberson is our guest, representative for District 43 in the Mississippi House of Representatives and chair of the House Education Committee. Representative, we appreciate you hanging on for a few more minutes. You brought up consolidation a second ago. That is something that you have had legislation that has been discussed in the House. It has long been a topic for Mississippians who think there is a better way to spend money than paying multiple superintendents and having redundancy within each of the 82 counties in Mississippi. And yet it's also a very controversial topic. You have people who have been screaming from the mountaintops for years, consolidate, consolidate. And then you've got others who are saying, don't you dare try to put 2 or 3 or 4 schools together in the same district. Why is this topic so controversial?
It's really and truly, it's about identity. We saw it here in Starkville in Oktibbeha County whenever we consolidated years ago. And it's very hard for a small community to feel like they're not losing their identity. And to a degree, that is true. Here's the problem with that. If you're more concerned about your identity and your community than you are the educational level that your kids are getting, we've got a bigger problem than the educational system or the community in which we're talking about. We have got to move past that and put us in a position to where these kids are getting an education. Yesterday, I was looking at a YouTube videos, and it popped up where an educational YouTube video was talking about kids that flew from one part of Alaska to another part of Alaska so that they could get an education. Could you imagine having to put your kid on an airplane every day to send them to get a good education? And in Mississippi, we wouldn't have to do that. That's not even a possibility to have to even think about. But we can't even have a conversation about consolidating without people coming out of the woodwork talking about how it's going to hurt the biggest impact. The largest impact of the community is the school district, and that's who employs all their people. Well, if your job in that community, and your largest job in that community is the school district job, and that's what you're worried about, we've got to think bigger than that, especially if you're in an F district. I'm not targeting consolidation for the sake of just closing schools, and money is a good byproduct of being able to do that. But it's to make certain that we're giving the kids out there the best possible education we can give them. And we cannot do that with over 140-some-odd school districts in a state of less than 3 million people. Yeah. It just doesn't make good sense.
So is it your belief that there should be 82 superintendents, one for each county? Do you think there's certain counties that should be combined into a single district because of population? If you are in a larger population county, is it fair to ask those counties to have just one superintendent as opposed to 2 if they're both high-performing schools?
It really kind of depends on the situation. When we dropped the bill this year, we dropped it to what I thought was the easiest way to have a conversation. 82 counties, 82 districts. Now, after getting into this and actually listening to some of my superintendents that actually brought some really good questions to us, I realized that there are going to be places where there are 2 counties that have 2 school districts that are pretty close to each other. And maybe we don't go with the model that's 82 counties. Maybe we go with a different model that we recreate what makes sense. I don't want to get into the business of, okay, we marked this off of our to-do list. We've done it. Let's move on. I would much prefer us to have a deeper conversation about what makes this work better and what is the leader, what educational system in a 50-mile radius, which one of these are doing the best that they can do, and how do we support that? And it may be 3 counties that we need to talk about moving together and making this work for the long. So I don't want to put a number on it as much as I want to put some good old-fashioned common sense into it. That means that we're getting high-quality education for every district of our area, and it may be some drive time. There may be some pain that's involved here for our parents and for our teachers and the adults that are involved here. But the bottom line is that if we're going to do a better job of educating our kids, let's knock open all of the doors that we need to look at and talk about all of the things that we need to talk about. And that's one of the reasons I drop a lot of bills sometimes, is to get us having a conversation about what it is and what direction that we want to go, and go at it that way.
We unfortunately are out of time for this conversation. Representative Roberson, I hope we can continue it. We obviously didn't get into the school choice conversation today. That clock does not forgive. So hopefully we can talk again soon. Thanks so much for your time this morning.
Thank you. God bless.
That's Rob Roberson, District 43 and Chair of the House Education Committee. We're going to take a time out. 8 o'clock hour, just around the corner. Quick news break, and then more with you. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Wake up! Wake up! Rise and shine!
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross.
Nice early morning surprise.
On Super Talk, Mississippi.
Good to be with you. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Good Monday morning. What a gorgeous start to the day. Going to be a little warmer this week. Amen and amen. I mean, unless you are going somewhere at this point where you need snow to have fun on your trip, feels like everybody's ready for spring. Like, that's the most common talking point. Hey, good to see you. Nice weather we're having here. Man, can't wait for it to warm up. Have you had that conversation, Lance?
Oh, yeah. Better be pruning those roses. Better be pruning your roses right now.
You know what I did yesterday?
You better have pruned your roses yesterday, huh?
Not
or
the
your
roses.
hydrangeas.
I don't have any roses. We got hydrangea and cut off all the old dead buds. As I was doing it, I was like, man, I hope I'm doing this right. Although those are pretty robust plants.
Yeah, remember, everyone, mamaonair@yahoo.com if you ever have those questions.
Garden Mama can help you on Saturday mornings. Richard Cross, Lance Tolbert, C-Spire text line open to you, 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. Let me try and go through your messages. As I said at the beginning of our conversation with Rob Roberson, and I hope you'll forgive me, I really thought we had time to get into the school choice conversation as well, but when the music starts, the break is coming, and there's no way around it. And so it's not a conversation that's going to die, not by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm also not sure that it's a conversation that's going to have any resolution, which is a little status quo. And that is frustrating to a lot of people. This was a question that came in for the representative. So we, as parents, are not supposed to fight for our children and their school system that we've invested in through our time, resources, leadership, and taxes. To your point, it's about leadership. So we're just supposed to welcome in poor leadership under the consolidation approach that obviously was the cause of the consolidation in the first place. Obviously, I'm not Representative Roberson, but I would say this. At least in theory, and doing this 82 times and getting it perfect, I understand that is a pretty significant bar to clear. But in theory, you would enhance the leadership, or at least maintain excellent leadership if you have excellent leadership in a school district across the board. It would be, good gosh, would it be a fight? And here's part of the reason. You still have a combination of ways that school district superintendents are put into those jobs. I think, forgive me for not knowing this, but I think the majority of school districts in Mississippi hire a superintendent. There are some, and I just, again, forgive me, I just don't know how many. But superintendents are elected in some places still. And so it's political in nature. If I'm off on that, feel free to correct me. Maybe that has changed and I have missed it. But I think you've still got superintendents that are elected into that position. So, if you have a superintendent leave and it's a hiring process, you're looking for the best and the brightest. I do know from having watched some schools go through the superintendent hiring process, it's a difficult process, especially if you've got really high standards and really high expectations. Because the number of qualified people in Mississippi or wanting to move to Mississippi for those jobs, it's a smaller number than you would like for it to be.
A little update for you on your numberings as of 2016, which are dated, obviously, and I think we've had some consolidation since then. But 89 of Mississippi's 144 school districts had appointed superintendents or elected. So 89 of the 144.
That's over half.
Yeah.
And
the last consolidation,
I'm not sure that's the best way to do this.
Well, in the last consolidation, I remember, and I could be off here, is the Choctaw County one, where you combined, I think, 3 schools. That was not popular at all. The communities had long-standing relationships with the smaller schools, but it took about a decade, I think, and then, it's kind of come together.
Mm-hmm.
But, they won the state championship this year. That helps to get everybody kind of on the same page.
Wait, which district did you say?
Choctaw County.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was like Weir and a couple others in there. And it was not popular, but it took time.
And you had it, Bassfield.
Yeah, that was a big one, too.
Down in the Pine Belt area.
Was that Jeff Davis County?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's worked out well. I mean, up front, people were not very happy, I don't think. Some were, some weren't. That's what you deal with. There's always two sides of the coin. But it's worked out well.
I do agree with Rusty. He says you can consolidate districts without consolidating schools. DeSoto County would be a perfect example. I mean, you want to talk about a massive job. If you were to turn the DeSoto County school system into a single district, I mean, you've got 5 7A schools and another 6A school. I may still be off by one in DeSoto County. That is a massive job. I mean, where I live, you have 7A and 6A with Oxford with the Oxford School District and the Lafayette School District. I mean, that's 2 big, relatively high-performing school districts. Now, you wouldn't consolidate the 2 schools, I don't think. I don't think you would have a single school in Lafayette County, but there's a scenario where you might have a single district with 1 superintendent, maybe 2 assistant superintendents.
You have that in Pearl. In 73, Pearl, when it became a city, separated from Rankin County school system. Rankin County school system has, 28 schools, 18,720 students. Pearl is the one that's outside of that, though. So they have their own deal. So as an example of what you're saying.
Somebody says, so he's telling us that we are wrong for our beliefs and we should think like him, whatever. Bigger is no way better performance. I don't think you can exclusively say that bigger is not better, but you can certainly say that bigger is not always better.
Depends on the offerings, too, right? You know what? You got to have the stuff that makes you competitive as the ingredients to the education. You can't, you can't expect certain school districts to perform and compete with others that have more resources, and this one over here has less. And I don't know how you solve that, but yeah, I mean, if you don't have the higher end classes at one and the other one, obviously you're going to have, the weighting is going to go to those that offer, some of the more college oriented things.
Jason in Starkville says over 10 years after consolidation, Starkville still does not run enough buses to support the county with a standardized start-stop class schedule. I don't know exactly. I mean, if you're just talking about staggered start and dismissal times, that's not unique to Oktibbeha County or Starkville. I mean, that has to do with size and capacity. For example, and I'm not trying to make Oxford the example that I use. It's just where I live and what I'm most familiar with. the Early Learning Center and Bramlett and Central Elementary all have a 7:40 start time. And then Oxford Intermediate School, the middle school, and the high school all have an 8:40 start time. Hey, I misspoke, by the way, on DeSoto County. That is a single district county. Biggest school system in the state of Mississippi.
Yeah, kudos to Ocean Springs, too. They've been rated number 1 in Mississippi 2 years in a row, I believe.
Yeah.
The highest ratings.
Really, really good. Okay, and I did ask for, you looked the numbers up from 2016, and I did ask for a correction, and I've gotten this from a state senator. There was a bill passed in 2019 for all superintendents to be appointed by local school boards.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so thanks for that. I felt like even as I was saying that I'd missed something and it was not right, because for a long time, I mean, to your point, as recently as 2016, over half the school districts in the state of Mississippi were still electing superintendents.
I saw that. I just didn't know if that was accurate. 2019 is that time period that I saw.
So 2019 is when it was. So school boards appoint the superintendent. Matthew says Grenada School District is consolidated, and it's been awesome. Even a district of innovation, only 9 of those in the state. I'd like to know why it seems like we educate all our children to go to college when clearly we need to have vocational programs like welding, plumbing, and things like that.
Yeah,
should be
earlier.
2 separate high schools, in my opinion. One that teaches college, one that teaches VOTEC.
Way earlier than we're doing it, too. 12, 13, 14.
And I don't know that I agree that it should be separate high schools.
No.
And there is more of this going on, but career training absolutely needs to be a part of the curriculum at every high school in the state.
From the Venable Glass.
Reaching across the state and across the aisle. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Glad to be with you. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Hey, can we have a conversation just between us, just for a second? Just you and me, and the you is wherever you are, however you're listening. This is me bearing it all. I'm still new at this job. This is the start officially of week 2 of Mornings with Richard Cross. Obviously, I spent 4.5, 5 months filling in for Paul in his absence. And I am learning on a daily basis. So Paul and I were colleagues for a really long time. And right, wrong, or indifferent, just being honest with you, I viewed it as, oh, Paul's got a radio show in the morning. I've got a radio show in the afternoon alongside Borky and Hey Dad. And we just kind of all do the same thing. I have learned in a very short amount of time that was inaccurate. I love sports. Our audience in the afternoon loves sports. Many of you love sports. There is a different level of seriousness. But it was also, for 2 decades, what I had done every single day. And I studied it, and I consumed it, and I had conversations with people. And in terms of some of the political topics that we are talking about that affect the state of Mississippi, I have not been a disengaged citizen by any stretch of the imagination. I've kept up. I've tried to. But I'm not there yet in terms of some of these issues. And I was actually texting with someone during the break that said, my biggest concern in this new role is accuracy on the most controversial / important / polarizing topics. And I'm not going to bat 1,000. I'm just not. But I promise you, I make you this promise this morning. I'm always going to be honest with you. And if I screw up, I'm going to be you may tell me I screwed up, but I'm going to be the first to admit that I screwed up. And the other thing that I promise you is I am taking the same approach that I have taken for 20 years with sports content to this content. I am consuming as much as I can, as fast as I can, and I'm talking to as many people as I can. But you know what? We got a lot of stuff going on the political spectrum in Mississippi, and it just can't all happen at once. Lance is trying to help me. We got folks that we work with at SuperTalk Mississippi that are helping me. Many of you are helping me, and I appreciate all of that. Don't take any of it for granted. But just know, if I say something that is inaccurate or is just downright dumb, it's not because I'm intentionally doing that. It's just I'm getting up to speed as fast as I can on some of this stuff.
And in your defense, I mean, I overload you on Sundays sometimes. Yeah, I mean, I'll blow you up.
You see the string of texts that come from Lance over the weekend. So we're all trying to pull in the same direction. And I hope you know that what I want is what is best for our state, the state of Mississippi. And I promise you I'm going to give you that to the best that I can every single day. So a couple of points on this school board conversation. Oh, I'm sorry, the school education conversation. Because, brother, when you start talking about elementary, middle school, high school education in Mississippi, there are a lot of layers to it. I mean, there's the consolidation conversation. There's the testing conversation. There's the early reading conversation. There's the school choice conversation. There's the hybrid school choice conversation. It's all rolled into one. But it all affects our students. And I hope, ultimately, what we all want is what is best for the students in the state of Mississippi. I am disappointed to say that that's not what everybody wants in the state of Mississippi. Some want status quo because it's the way we've all done it. Some are looking out for individual financial interests because it behooves them. Some are looking at municipal financial interests. Some are looking at being part of a high-performing school right now and a fear of the unknown in the case of consolidation. So, two things we got to remember in this. Scott Waller sent me a text and said, hey, on the elected appointed thing, there is an important thing to remember. While, yes, 2016 is when the law was passed, 2019 is when it went into effect, all local school boards appoint superintendents, go through the hiring process with superintendents. However, many local school board positions are elected positions.
Exactly. Yep.
And then in some places, you've got a hybrid of the two. You have a combination of appointed and elected school board members.
That's why I didn't say anything about that 2019, because there are still people that are getting elected. I know. I've seen the signs.
Yeah. But it's board members. It's not superintendents themselves. So that's number one. I think we need to remember that. Here's number two. Consolidation of districts is not the same thing as consolidation of schools. When you hear school consolidation as a catch-all phrase, you realize, oh, geez, Water Valley and Coffeyville are about to be the same high school. Madison Central and Ridgeland and Germantown are all about to be one school. No. That doesn't work in most places from a numbers standpoint. Now, It was Bassfield. Okay, Jefferson Davis County School was the new school. It was a combination of. We got that message a second ago. Bassfield and who? There were two schools that came together. Say again.
I said there was two. Yeah, there was two. I can't remember the other one, but it was Bassfield and let's see.
We got that in a message just a second ago. Anyway, so there are some scenarios where you combine multiple schools into a single school. But by and large, this conversation is about, it's Bassfield and Prentice. Thank you. Bassfield and Prentice consolidated, combined to become Jefferson Davis. Mm-hmm. And that's where we are now. And Lance pointed out that largely, I know some of what you're looking at is from an athletic standpoint, it's been fruitful. Took a little while to get there, a little while to figure it all out.
And you got Choctaw County too, which was a similar one with Ware, and I don't want to step out of line. I should know that. But.
Yeah, but we're talking about consolidation of administration at the district level. And so to use the example I used from Yellowbusha County just a second ago, you're not talking about Water Valley and Coffeyville necessarily becoming a single high school. You're talking about the administration for the Water Valley School District and the Coffeyville School. I'm just using it as an example. Don't go crazy if you live in Yellowbusha County. You're talking about the administration of Coffeyville and Water Valley being rolled into a Yellowbusha County School District administration where there is a single superintendent that is over the schools that fall under that umbrella. That's what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And had a legislator that pointed out to me, and I think it's a pretty important thing. When you look at DeSoto County as a single school district, as the largest school district in the state, it's a pretty good example of what Representative Roberson was talking about as well. It can be done, and it can be done well. But there are growing pains that are involved in it. No question. Somebody says, Richard, what about the Tebow bill? Should homeschooled kids get to play football at Oxford? I like the Tim Tebow Act. Like, I really do. If those students that are coming from homeschool are qualifying, they're having to meet the same standards for eligibility that the kids that are in the public school are, and if they are paying a fee that is commensurate with what it costs the school district to have kids involved in athletics programs. To me, those are the two qualifiers that have got to be there, and I think they would be. Back with you after this. Mornings with Richard Cross.
And now, Mornings with Richard Cross. What's up?
Let's get the show going.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Good to be with you this morning. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. We are getting set to visit with J.T. Mitchell. He's the news director on the Super Talk Mississippi news team. But before we do that, I want to tell you about my friends at Genteel Apparel. You like supporting a Mississippi company? There you go. JT's got the Genteel quarter zip on this morning himself. Genteel, a company that was started in Mississippi and has made its home in Mississippi. But you don't just support a company because of where they're located, even if you want to support one in the home state. You support them because they make fantastic clothes. Check out their website, genteelapparel.com. You always get free shipping on orders over $150. You can sign up for email messages from Genteel and get 10% off your order. Their new spring line is trickling in daily. They're adding it to the website daily. New polos that you can find, hoodies, quarter zips, and I will tell you, they make the best pants and shorts that I have ever worn in my life. I won't say I've tried every brand, but I've tried a bunch. Their pants have got just a little bit of stretch. They hold their shape. They look good. They come in the perfect colors, and they are super, super comfortable. It's like you're not even wearing pants, but you are. You won't get arrested for it. Check them out, gentileapparel.com. Again, the website, Gentile, Genteal apparel.com. JT Mitchell joins us right now, part of the SuperTalk Mississippi news team. Good morning, my friend.
Hey, Richard. How are you?
I'm great. Hope you had a good weekend.
Everything's groovy. Everything's good. How about you?
If you need to put a smile on your face, and you haven't done it yet this morning, walk outside and just stand outside for a second. It feels great. Get that warm sunshine, bright sunshine beating down. There is a hint of spring in the air today.
Yeah, and I haven't had it yet. I mean, when I was, getting out of the house around 4 a.m., it was still cold and
You
foggy.
didn't leave the house at 4 a.m.
Oh, come on. Come spend the night one night. 4 a.m.
Your wife wouldn't want a house guest.
We got 2 spare bedrooms.
There you go. Let's dive in. There was some stuff over the weekend, including the first debate, I guess we would call it. There are 138 candidates for mayor of Jackson, roughly, going forward, and they were all on stage on Saturday. Tell me about it.
Well, not all. Out of the 138...
They couldn't all be bothered to show up.
We had to get 2 venues to get all 138 in. But no, seriously, there are 20 candidates, and 11 of them showed up. This is for the Jackson mayoral race.
Now, they were all invited, right?
Yes, every single one was invited. And I do want to say, before we get into it, yeah, I understand this is a statewide radio program, and that's exactly why I think we need to zero in on these big mayoral races, especially Jackson, because you hear elected officials say all the time, if Jackson doesn't succeed, the rest of the state might not follow. And this is a huge election. It is the busiest mayoral election in the capital city in a very long time. It started at 22 people. 2 of them, as you and I talked about, are now gone because one stole from the taxpayers, and the other did not actually live in Jackson, according to the court. His license said Byram, and at last I checked, if your license doesn't say the city you're running for mayor in, you probably can't run for mayor in that city.
So we've only got one candidate that stole from taxpayers?
Well, we one that is convicted of stealing from taxpayers. Yes, we have,
and then a few lingering questions as well.
We have another candidate, the incumbent, Mayor Chokwe in Tarlamumba, who allegedly accepted bribes. As of now, I have not seen any...
I guess that's not quite the same as stealing from taxpayers.
Right. We have another candidate, David Archie, he was a former Hinds County supervisor, and he lost his most recent election, but he claims it was stolen from him, and he's fighting that in court. So there's a lot of storylines, just different candidate by different candidate. And this...
Does that mean there's a constitutional crisis in Mississippi if he's fighting election results in court?
And he's a Democrat. And so, we heard from Republican President Donald Trump that his election was stolen from him, but we got a Democrat in Jackson who also had his election allegedly stolen.
So what did you learn when you heard these candidates speak?
Yeah. So you had 11 of 20 on stage. Great event put on by nonprofit Jacksonians for Jackson. If you missed it, you can live stream it on their Facebook. I'll put out that PSA real quick.
Okay.
What did I learn? I learned that the waters are still very murky, and that was the general consensus.
Wait, is that literal or figurative?
That is the feeling inside that room, is that people had a lot of questions for a lot of different candidates, and there was no clear-cut favorite. And
I ask if it's literal or figurative because I saw somebody on Twitter this weekend posted a picture of their brown water in Jackson. It was like, hey, if you can give me a clear plan for how this is going to change, you got my vote.
And I get it. And I saw that. And it's unfortunate that contingent on where you live in the city, you might have better water. My neighborhood does not have terribly many water issues. We do a lot of precautionary boil water notices, sure. But then on Saturday, And these people had a right to ask these questions and to be, frankly, fed up. There were people there from South and West Jackson asking these candidates, what's your plan for my water? Last December, I went a month in South Jackson without water around the holidays. What's your plan for that? And so there was a lot of fire in the room from these citizens. And to me, Richard, that's quite assuring, because if you look back at the most recent municipal election we had here, around 10,400 people out of around 150K who live in the city actually voted. I think this year, I'm not saying everybody who lives in Jackson is going to vote. That's not going to happen. But I think you're going to see numbers go up. But who are they going to vote for? I'm not sure right now.
What do you think is reasonable? You think 20% of Jacksonians will vote? 30%? I mean, 30% at 150,000 would be, what, 45,000? That'd be a 4X increase. That seems pretty big.
That seems really big. And, just living in the city, I don't want to throw out a number, but I think if you got 45,000 people who actually showed up to the polls, that's a very good mark from here into the future. But you had 11 candidates, mostly Democrats, 2 independents, I believe we have 4 Republicans, none of them showed up. But it was good because the way it was set up was each candidate had a couple minutes to give their spiel on why they should be elected mayor. And then after that, the candidates each drew a number, 1 through 11, and whoever had won, they got to go first, and they got to pick a fellow candidate to ask a question to. And then at the end, it, for a short time, got opened up to the citizens, like myself. And so I thought the event was good.
Was the mayor there?
He was, which I was surprised about. I was also even more surprised that not a single question was asked by a fellow candidate or a citizen about his recent indictments.
Does that mean people don't care?
I'm not sure. That's something I've really been trying to gauge, Richard, is how many people are actually up to date on what's going on right now with the current mayor and his legal troubles. I really don't know. I know a lot of people, especially people that, of course, work in media and watch the news, they know about it, but I don't know how many people in general conversation that's coming up for them. I will say that Senator John Horn, who is obviously challenging the mayor in the Democratic primary alongside the other 138 Democrats, he was getting pestered by a lot of questions, which kind of gave me a feeling that if other candidates are targeting him for questions, he probably fielded the most or second most questions up there. That would bring one to believe that he's got to be in the top 3.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, if he is the primary target of other candidates, then that means they're concerned about him. Yes, and the mayor got a lot of questions, and I mean, really, the mayor did not do a bad job. He's sharp. He really is. He's a politician. He's sharp. He got asked questions, and whether he gave the actual answer or not, he made it seem like he did. And so I thought it was quite interesting. I thought Senator Horn, he got asked some very hard questions, which were hard to answer at times. A man by the name of Marcus Wallace, a former mayor in Edwards, Mississippi, 30 miles west of us, which is less than 1,000 people. He moved to Jackson and is running for mayor here. He got a lot of questions too. I thought the whole event was well done. And as of now, what I'm hearing is we're going to have at least 2 additional mayoral debates in the city of Jackson between now and the general. But before we move on to the conversation, Richard, I do want to remind people, April 1 is the primary. Absentees are now open, and you have to register by March 3rd to vote. All right. That's coming up pretty quickly. We'll take a quick time out. A couple of other things to visit with JT about on the other side of this break. You've got it locked in on Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
But one you can't refuse. It's the politics of contraband. It's the smuggler's blues.
grab another cup of coffee, and start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross, here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
And I'm tired of taking blame when I ain't done nothing wrong. I'm tired of other people trying to take what's mine. And I'm tired of y'all playing dress up and trying to sing them old country songs. Some days you kill it, some days you choke. Some days you
Good to be with you on this Monday morning, start of a new work week. Thanks for joining us alongside Lance Talbert. I'm Richard Cross, JT Mitchell from the SuperTalk Mississippi News Team, joining us as he does every single Monday morning. Tragic news out of Hinds County yesterday. The death of a sheriff's deputy who was killed in the line of duty last night. We have seen statements from the Hinds County Sheriff, from the governor, from other statewide elected officials, from local officials as well. Such a tragic situation.
Yeah, and I just got one roll in from Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann. Tragic is the absolutely correct word. 37-year-old Martin Shields with the Hinds County Sheriff's Office. He was responding to a domestic call on Midway Road in Terry last night. He was killed on the scene after shots were fired. His alleged killer, Eric Brown, was also killed on the scene. And, you know, I think Sheriff Tyree Jones really did a great job in his social media post saying that it's terrible, but Martin Shields died a hero who fulfilled his, quote, God-given mission on earth to protect and serve. He was from what I understand, a law enforcement officer for a good long while, but this was his first year with the Hinds County Sheriff's Office, and you just hate to see it, Richard.
Terrible. 9 months with the Hinds County Sheriff Department, had a law enforcement career that spanned much longer than that. Taken from us far, far too soon. The Senate is expected to vote on their tax plan today, and assuming it's passed, and I think that's a pretty fair assumption, it will be sent to the House, and then the fun begins, I guess, in terms of the House working through the Senate's bill. The Senate has had the House bill for 7 weeks now and does not seem to have done a whole lot with it. Where are we?
Well, item number 3 on the agenda today, when senators gavel back in at 4 p.m., is when they'll take up SB 3095, which is this tax reform package that you and others have been covering so well. If you don't usually live stream the state legislature, most normal people don't. I have to for my job, but this one may be worth the watch. Okay. When the House brought up its tax package, it was pretty popcorn worthy, getting to hear all the questions being peppered out there and then the amendments that later failed. But I think this is one of those bills you may want to tune into. And then after it passes, man, it's really just a game of wait and see. Are one of the chambers just going to scrap all to the other and put in their own language? Are they going to have some adult conversations and find a compromise in the middle and get something sent to the governor's desk? Or is nothing going to happen, and then is Governor Tate Reeves going to say, no, I still want income tax eliminated. We're calling a special session. You guys figure it out. And then they have two options. If that happens, they can either do it or they do nothing. They just sit on their hands and they wait to go home. But typically, if it does get to the point of a special session, which I'm not saying it will, with big stuff like this, you often, more times than not, see some compromise and get it done. But if a special session is called, they rarely do nothing. They try to get it done and get out of there.
I know you are a reporter, not somebody who is prone to offering a ton of opinions. So I love putting you in the uncomfortable position of asking you an opinion question. But you've been covering this for a long time. I think it is safe to say that we know that the Senate is not going to pass the House bill as it is written, and the House is not going to pass the Senate bill as it is written. Is it your gut feeling, opinion, that ultimately there is some sort of compromise and resolution? Or do we end this session with no tax reform bill?
I personally believe, whether it be through the current session or a special session afterward, something is going to get done. I cannot tell you what the nuts and bolts of what is going to be done gets done, because obviously the House wants to eliminate income tax. The Senate wants to prioritize slashing the grocery tax. But if you think back to 2022, Governor Tate Reeves was doing the same thing. He was calling for the elimination of income tax. He had this press conference, 11th hour press conference. He said, get something done. And they did not eliminate income tax, but they phased it down into the system that we're currently in.
Sure.
And he signed it.
Well, for the sake of taxpayers' pocketbooks, I hope they get it done during the regular session. For the sake of a radio show that covers politics in the state of Mississippi, here's to a special session where they have to hammer something out. We'll see.
For the sake of a guy who needs sleep, I wouldn't mind them getting it done now.
Yeah, I hear you. JT Mitchell, News Director, SuperTalk Mississippi News Team. Always appreciate your time. For my man, Lance, I'm Richard Cross. Thanks for being with us. Hope you have a great Monday. You're listening to Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.